The rain poured relentlessly that afternoon, turning the streets of Brooklyn into a blur of gray and silver. Lucas Bennett, a widowed father drained from sleepless nights and endless responsibilities, stumbled outside the community center, his umbrella long forgotten, and collapsed onto the wet pavement. His body trembled from exhaustion, and the weight of raising a young daughter alone felt unbearable. At that very moment, Sofia Ramirez, a single mother known in the neighborhood for her compassion and resilience, happened to pass by. Without hesitation, she knelt beside him, offering a warm blanket from her bag and a voice filled with calm reassurance. Sensing the depth of his struggle, she gently helped him to his feet and invited him to her modest apartment, insisting he dry off and rest. Inside, the soft glow of the small kitchen lamp revealed the chaos of two lives shaped by unexpected hardship, yet both marked by strength and determination. Over cups of steaming tea, Lucas shared the daily challenges of single parenthood. The endless work, the worry for his daughter, and the lonely nights filled with doubt. Sofia listened attentively, sharing her own stories of raising her son alone and the small victories that kept her going. In that quiet space, amidst the rhythmic patter of rain against the window, a profound connection began to form, born from mutual understanding and the unspoken recognition of shared burdens. Neither knew what the future held, but in that moment, Lucas felt a spark of hope, a reminder that, even in life's heaviest storms, unexpected kindness could offer shelter and the possibility of something new. From the very first night that Lucas Bennett stepped into Sofia Ramirez's small apartment, what began as a simple act of kindness started to blossom into something far deeper. Initially, Sofia's help was purely practical. She dried Lucas off, fed him a warm meal, and tucked him into a borrowed blanket on her couch. But as the days passed, her care extended beyond mere assistance. She showed Lucas the small, practical ways to care for his daughter, Emma, how to soothe her when she cried in the middle of the night, how to prepare meals that would satisfy her picky appetite, and how to manage the constant whirlwind of toys, homework, and bath time with calm precision. Lucas, who had been struggling under the heavy weight of single parenthood, watched with admiration as Sofia effortlessly navigated the challenges he had felt so overwhelmed by. Sofia didn't stop at teaching, she became a constant presence in their lives. She greeted Lucas with a smile each morning, offered guidance with gentle patience, and gradually won Emma's trust with her warmth and humor. Lucas began to notice how naturally Emma responded to Sofia, laughing freely at her jokes and running to her for comfort, something he had longed for as he tried to balance the role of both mother and father. In this growing rhythm of shared days and evenings, Sofia's presence slowly wove itself into the fabric of their household, turning the temporary help into something more lasting, a true extension of family. But the bond wasn't limited to Emma. Lucas found himself drawn to Sofia not just as a friend or mentor, but as a source of emotional support he hadn't realized he needed. Late at night, after Emma had fallen asleep, they would sit in the quiet kitchen, sipping tea, sharing stories, and offering each other advice about life's unpredictabilities. He listened as Sofia recounted the challenges of raising her son, Tyler, on her own. The loneliness, the triumphs, moments of despair that were softened only by her determination to provide a stable, loving environment. Lucas realized that her strength, her compassion, and her unwavering dedication mirrored the very qualities he wished to embody for his own child. Over time, the connection grew deeper. Lucas watched with quiet fascination as Tyler and Emma began to form their own bond, exchanging toys, laughing together, and learning from one another. Sofia's influence extended beyond simple guidance. She became a nurturing figure who united two households into one shared space of love, patience, and understanding. The chaotic mornings and bedtime routines transformed into moments of joy and laughter, and Lucas began to feel a sense of balance and calm he hadn't known in years. As the weeks turned into months, Lucas couldn't deny the growing warmth in his heart. He found himself thinking about Sofia throughout the day, looking forward to her presence, and valuing the comfort she brought not just to him, but to his daughter as well. The initial gratitude he felt had matured into genuine affection, and the laughter he heard from Tyler and Emma became a reminder that family could be chosen as much as it could be born. He realized that Sofia wasn't just helping them survive the storm. She had become a cornerstone of their lives, a partner in the small victories and the everyday routines that define what it truly means to be a family. In those quiet, shared moments, Lucas understood that love and connection weren't always about grand gestures. They often began with small acts of kindness, unwavering support, and the courage to let someone into your life. What started as a single, rainy encounter outside a community center had grown into a bond that brought stability, warmth, and hope to two young children and a weary father. Lucas no longer saw Sophia and Tyler merely as friends or helpers. They had become family in the truest sense of the word, a living testament to the power of compassion, trust, and shared life. The rain had stopped, leaving behind the faint smell of wet pavement and the soft glow of streetlights reflecting off puddles. When Lucas Bennett finally gathered the courage to reveal the truth that had weighed on him for years. For months, he had concealed not only the burdens of single parenthood, but also the details of his life as a successful entrepreneur who had built a small fortune through careful investments and a company he had nurtured from scratch. To Sofia Ramirez and her son Tyler, he had always appeared as an ordinary man, struggling under the demands of work and parenthood. But the truth was far more complex. He had resources, opportunities, and stability that he had never shared. Partly out of pride, and partly out of fear that his wealth might change the dynamic that had grown between them. It was a quiet evening in Sophia's cozy apartment, the kind where the city noises seemed distant, and the only sounds were the gentle ticking of the clock and Tyler's soft laughter from the tall living room. Lucas had asked Sophia to sit with him in the small kitchen, the table cluttered with dishes from dinner, the soft glow of the lamp casting warm light across her thoughtful face. Taking a deep breath, he began to speak, choosing his words carefully, wanting to be honest without overwhelming her. He told her about his company, about the struggles and sacrifices he had endured to reach a place of financial security, and about the life he could provide not just for himself, but for a family willing to embrace it with him. Sophia listened quietly, her eyes widening in surprise but also in understanding. She had always admired Lucas's resilience, his calmness under pressure, and his unwavering dedication to Emma, but hearing the full scope of his life added a new layer of depth to the man she had grown to respect and care for. There was no arrogance in his confession, only sincerity and the desire to build a life that included the people who had become most important to him. Tyler, sensing the gravity of the moment, stayed close to his mother, curiosity shining in his young eyes. Lucas paused, allowing the weight of his words to settle. Then, with a gentle yet firm tone, he presented his offer, a proposal that had been forming in his mind ever since Sophia had first welcomed him and Emma into her home during that rainy night of chance. He wanted to provide Sophia and Tyler with security, opportunity, and a home where they would never have to face financial worries again. He offered to cover Tyler's tuition at one of the best schools in the city, ensuring that the boy would have access to education, resources, and experiences that could shape a bright future. He extended the same security to Sophia, promising that she would have the freedom to pursue her own ambitions, to continue her work with confidence, and to live without the constant strain of worry about bills, rent, or unexpected hardships. The sincerity in Lucas's voice was matched only by the vulnerability in his eyes. This was not a transaction or a mere attempt to buy affection, it was a genuine desire to create a family, to merge their lives not out of obligation, but out of the deep bonds they had forged through shared challenges and mutual care. He wanted them to live with him, to form a household where laughter, support, and love could flourish without the interruptions of fear or scarcity. The words were carefully chosen, but they carried the weight of a man who had learned that true wealth is measured not in money, but in the people who stand beside you, sharing both the joys and struggles of life. Sophia felt a rush of emotions, surprise, gratitude, and an overwhelming sense of possibility. Her life had always been one of hard work and modest means, and though she had dreamed of a stable and safe environment for Tyler, she had never imagined it arriving in such an unexpected and profound way. Yet the offer was not merely financial, it was personal, emotional, and deeply meaningful. It was an invitation to trust, to step into a new chapter of life with someone who had proven time and again that his intentions were honorable. She thought of the nights she had spent comforting Tyler, the moments she had worried about providing for him, and the countless times she had wondered whether life could offer them more than just survival. Lucas's offer represented not just opportunity, but transformation, a chance to live fully, to embrace stability, and to grow a family built on choice, love, and mutual respect. Tyler, sensing the shift in energy, looked up at Lucas with wide, hopeful eyes. The boy had been through his own share of uncertainty and loss, and here was a man who not only wanted to protect him, but to welcome him into a life filled with possibilities he had never known. Sophia's heart swelled as she observed the subtle connection forming between Lucas and Tyler, a silent acknowledgement that they were beginning to see themselves as more than just neighbors or friends. They were on the cusp of becoming a true family unit. The conversation stretched long into the night, moving from practical details to dreams and aspirations, fears and hopes. Lucas reassured Sophia that her role would never be diminished, that her influence on Tyler's life would remain central, and that her presence in his own life had already become indispensable. He emphasized that this was not about replacing the past or erasing struggles, but about building a future together, one where each person's strengths were recognized, respected, and cherished. The offer came with no strings, only the promise of inclusion, partnership, and unwavering support. By the time the first light of dawn crept through the windows, Sophia had made her decision. The offer was more than a financial safety net. It was a symbol of trust, a bridge toward a future that had previously seemed unreachable. She accepted, not out of obligation, but because she recognized in Lucas a man whose heart matched the depth of his resources. Tyler, sensing the warmth and safety of this choice, smiled widely, and Lucas felt a profound sense of relief and joy, a vision of the family he had longed for, finally coming to life. What had begun on a rainy night with chance and necessity had evolved into a deliberate and heartfelt decision to unite as a family. Lucas's confession of wealth and his offer to Sophia and Tyler marked not just the revelation of resources, but the birth of a new chapter, one filled with love, laughter, and the shared promise of a life richer than either could have imagined. Alone. Together, they were no longer simply individuals navigating their separate struggles. They were a family, bound not only by circumstance but by choice, trust, and the unwavering desire to build something lasting, beautiful, and meaningful. The morning sun streamed through the tall windows of the newly renovated apartment, casting warm golden hues across the minimalist furniture and soft rugs carefully placed throughout the space. Amelia Rivers stood by the window, a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation fluttering in her chest. Today marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life, a chapter she had never dared to imagine just months earlier. The offer Lucas Bennett had extended to her and her son, Ethan, was no longer just a dream. It had become reality. After much thought and heartfelt conversations, Amelia had agreed to move in with Lucas, embracing not only the security he offered, but also the promise of companionship, partnership, and the rare chance to build a family together from the ground up. The decision had not been easy. Amelia had spent years nurturing her independence, shielding Ethan from instability. Yet, in Lucas, she had found more than financial security. She had found a man whose kindness, patience, and understanding had slowly dismantled the life walls she had built around her heart. He had never pressured her, never offered charity, disguised as pity. Instead, he had become a constant presence, guiding her gently through parenting challenges, listening with genuine interest to her dreams, and validating her role as a mother. The day she had decided to accept his offer, she had felt a mixture of relief and exhilaration. Relief at knowing Ethan would have a stable home and opportunities she could never have provided alone, and exhilaration at stepping into a future brimming with possibility. Lucas, meanwhile, had been quietly preparing for their arrival. He had renovated an entire wing of his home, ensuring that Amelia and Ethan would feel welcomed, comfortable, and empowered. The space was designed not just for living but for growth, bright, airy rooms, with flexible spaces where Amelia could explore her passion for interior design, an area she had long dreamed of pursuing but never had the chance to study. Lucas had enrolled her in a prestigious design program, covering tuition, materials, and mentorship opportunities, ensuring that her talents would be nurtured and recognized. Watching Amelia explore her new home with a sense of ownership and pride, Lucas felt a profound sense of joy. He knew that this was more than a simple relocation. It was the foundation of a life built together, where love, opportunity, and personal growth could coexist harmoniously. The early weeks were filled with learning and adjustment. Amelia found herself balancing motherhood, her new studies, and the gentle rhythm of life shared with Lucas. Ethan adapted quickly, enchanted by the space, the garden where he could play safely, and the consistency of daily routines that Lucas provided. Their bond deepened with each passing day, the three of them navigating shared meals, school drop-offs, and evenings spent reading stories or discussing design concepts. Lucas was an active participant, never imposing, but always present. Sharing laughs, offering guidance, and quietly nurturing the connection that was blossoming among them. As Amelia grew more confident in her design studies, Lucas began to notice the subtle shifts in their relationship. The gratitude and respect Amelia had shown were transforming into something more tender, a quiet but undeniable affection that neither could ignore. Lucas admired her dedication, her intellect, and the way she balanced compassion with ambition. Amelia, in turn, found herself drawn to Lucas not just for his generosity but for his unwavering integrity, his sense of humor, and the ease with which he made her feel safe enough to dream bigger than ever before. Love, they discovered, was not a sudden revelation, but a gentle unfolding, a trust that had been built through shared experiences, mutual respect, and the willingness to be vulnerable. The moment Lucas proposed felt like the natural culmination of months of care, growth, and mutual understanding. It was a quiet evening, the three of them gathered around the kitchen table finishing a project Amelia had been working on for her interior design course. Lucas knelt beside her, a small velvet box in hand, his voice steady but brimming with emotion. "Amelia, I've watched you grow. I've seen the love you give Ethan, the passion you pour into your dreams, and the strength you bring into our lives. I want us to continue this journey together, not just as companions, but as partners, as a family." Tears welled in Amelia's eyes as she nodded, words failing her in the face of such heartfelt sincerity. Ethan cheered, hugging both of them, sealing the promise of a future defined by love, respect, and shared purpose. With their engagement came a new vision. The creation of a family support center, a place where parents and children could find guidance, resources, and encouragement mirroring the very support and compassion that had brought them together. Amelia and Lucas worked side by side, combining their unique skills and experiences. Amelia's growing expertise in interior design transformed the space into a welcoming, functional, and inspiring environment, while Lucas provided strategic guidance, funding, and mentorship. The center became a symbol of their unity and commitment, a tangible representation of what can be achieved when love is paired with opportunity, empathy, and dedication. In embracing this new life, Amelia, Ethan, and Lucas discovered more than stability and love. They discovered the profound power of trust, the beauty of shared dreams, and the limitless potential of a family built on choice, respect, and unwavering support. The rain-soaked night that had first brought them together had blossomed into a bright, promising dawn. One where every day offered the chance to grow, to learn, and to love in ways they had once only imagined. The excitement that had once filled Amelia Rivers' life in anticipation of her upcoming engagement and new family life with Lucas Bennett was suddenly clouded by a storm she hadn't seen coming. The past several months had been a whirlwind of joy, growth, and connection. Amelia had moved into Lucas's home with her son Ethan, begun her studies in interior design with full support, and felt a deepening affection for Lucas that went far beyond gratitude or admiration. Together, they had nurtured a home filled with warmth, laughter, and the promise of shared dreams. The creation of their family support center had added a profound sense of purpose, and life seemed poised for a beautiful, unfolding future. Yet, despite the outward harmony, a secret from Lucas's past actions had begun to crack the foundation of trust that Amelia had so carefully built. It began on a quiet evening just 2 weeks before the wedding. Amelia and Lucas had been reviewing the plans for a new wing of the family support center, discussing paint choices, room layouts, and potential workshops for parents and children. Amelia had been delighted to see how her ideas were being taken seriously, feeling the full weight of her creative influence in shaping something meaningful. Lucas, sensing her enthusiasm, had grown more animated, praising her ideas and encouraging her to take the lead. Their shared smiles, light laughter, and easy conversation created a scene of perfect domestic intimacy. And yet, beneath Lucas's calm exterior, a heavy burden had been growing for weeks, the knowledge that he had yet to confess a truth that he knew could shatter everything Amelia had come to trust in him. Finally, that evening, Lucas decided he could no longer bear the weight of silence. Taking a deep breath, he set aside the paint swatches and turned to Amelia, his expression serious, tense. "Amelia, there's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you long before now," he began, his voice steady but tinged with apprehension. Amelia, sensing the gravity in his tone, tilted her head slightly, a flicker of concern crossing her face. "What is it?" Lucas? She asked softly, expecting a minor confession or an administrative mishap concerning the center. She had no idea that the words about to come would shake her entire perception of their relationship. Lucas swallowed hard, choosing his words with painstaking care. When I first decided to invite you into my life, to consider you for my family support initiative and ultimately for our home, I observed you from a distance. For 6 weeks, I followed your routines, watched your interactions, and noted your habits, all without your knowledge. The words landed with a weight that made Amelia blink in disbelief, her mind struggling to process the claim. Ethan, who had been quietly playing with his building blocks nearby, looked up curiously, but sensed the tension in the room. Amelia's heart began to race, her fingers trembling as she gripped the edge of the table. You. What? She asked. Her voice barely audible, the shock rendering her almost speechless. Lucas rushed to clarify, sensing her immediate distress. I know it sounds invasive and wrong. I never intended for it to be a breach of trust or to manipulate you. I wanted to make sure that you and Ethan would be the right people to work with for the center, to ensure that our family would thrive together. I've never watched anyone like that before, and I should have told you from the start. I see now how it looks, and I understand if you feel hurt, betrayed, or deceived. His hands were clasped tightly, a mixture of guilt and fear, evident in his posture. Amelia stepped back, her mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. For weeks, she had felt safe, valued, and genuinely loved, and yet, the revelation now made her question everything. The person she had come to trust completely, the man who had embraced her and Ethan, who had encouraged her dreams, who had offered his home, heart, and life, had secretly monitored her without consent. The intimacy and connection she had believed were founded on mutual respect now felt tainted by this hidden observation. Her heart ached, not only for herself, but for Ethan, who had grown fond of Lucas, seeing him as a stable father figure. How could she reconcile the warmth of the past months with the shadow of surveillance that now hung over their relationship? Questions tumbled through Amelia's mind. Did Lucas truly respect her autonomy? Had every ståttle, kind gesture, every supportive word, every laugh they shared, been genuine, or had it been part of some carefully orchestrated plan? Was the love she felt real, or had it been influenced by the knowledge he had gathered without her consent? Her thoughts were relentless, each one slicing deeper than the last, as memories of their time together now carried an uncomfortable weight. The cozy evenings, shared meals, and collaborative planning sessions suddenly felt like potential performances observed for a hidden agenda. Lucas, seeing the storm of emotion swirling in Amelia's eyes, reached for her hand, but she instinctively pulled away. Amelia, please, he said gently, his voice laced with regret. I never meant to hurt you. I wanted to ensure we were all safe, happy, and ready for the just future. My methods were flawed, yes, but my feelings for you and Ethan have always been genuine. I love you both, more than I can express, and I would never want to jeopardize what we've built together. Despite his heartfelt words, Amelia felt a chasm opening between them. She loved Lucas, yet she could not ignore the violation of privacy, the uninvited scrutiny that had underpinned their early connection. Trust, she realized, was not easily restored. It had to be rebuilt, slowly, deliberately, and with transparency. For the first time since moving into Lucas's home, she questioned whether she could continue down the path they had begun together, whether the foundation of love and shared dreams could withstand the weight of this betrayal. That night, Amelia retreated to her room, Ethan asleep beside her, and stared at the ceiling, wrestling with conflicting emotions. Anger, hurt, confusion, and lingering affection collided in her mind. She loved Lucas, yet she feared the implications of his secret actions. She had to decide whether to confront him fully, whether to demand accountability, or whether she could find a way to reconcile her feelings with the reality of what had happened. In the silence of that room, Amelia realized that the coming days would test not just her trust, but the strength of their bond, the resilience of love, and the capacity for forgiveness. The road ahead would be difficult, but it would also determine whether their family, built so carefully with laughter, growth, and hope, could survive a revelation that shook its very core. The storm that had erupted in Amelia Rivers' life seemed, at first, insurmountable. The revelation of Lucas Bennett's 6-week secret observation had left her reeling, her trust fractured and her heart heavy with doubt. For days, she had retreated into quiet reflection, walking the familiar paths near their neighborhood park with Ethan by her side, replaying every moment of the past months in her mind. She loved Lucas deeply, yet the knowledge of his surveillance gnawed at her, creating a conflict between her feelings and her principles. How could the man she trusted so completely have watched her life unfold without her knowledge? How could she reconcile the affection and support he had shown with the deception he had admitted? These questions filled her nights, leaving her restless and uncertain about the future. Lucas, meanwhile, gave her space but remained present, showing patience and unwavering commitment. He understood the gravity of his mistake and knew that rebuilding trust would not be immediate or easy. He left gentle notes for Amelia, shared small acts of thoughtfulness for Ethan, and allowed her to lead their interactions at her own pace. He did not push apologies or explanations. Instead, he allowed her time to process and reflect, showing through action that his remorse was genuine. Each day, he reaffirmed his love for both Amelia and Ethan, never asking for immediate forgiveness, understanding that true reconciliation required humility and patience. Eventually, Amelia felt ready to confront the situation head-on. She invited Lucas to sit with her in the quiet comfort of their living room, sunlight streaming through the windows, casting warm patterns across the floor. The conversation began with silence, tension hanging in the air, until Amelia, taking a deep breath, spoke. She expressed her hurt, her anger, and her disappointment, explaining how the secret surveillance had made her feel violated and questioning whether the foundation of their relationship could survive such a breach. Lucas listened intently, absorbing each word without interruption, acknowledging the weight of his actions and the impact they had caused. He did not defend himself or make excuses. Instead, he owned his mistake fully, admitting that his intentions, while rooted in concern for their collective well-being, had been misguided and invasive. Amelia's eyes welled with tears, yet she felt a glimmer of hope as Lucas continued. He promised to rebuild the trust that had been broken, to treat her with complete transparency, and to ensure that their relationship would be founded on equality, respect, and mutual understanding. He emphasized that moving forward, their decisions would be made as partners, with shared responsibility and open communication. Lucas's sincerity and patience gradually began to ease Amelia's pain, reminding her of the qualities that had drawn her to him in the first place, his kindness, dedication, and unwavering love for her and Ethan. After hours of honest, heartfelt dialogue, Amelia reached a turning point. She recognized the one love that had been consistently demonstrated over months, the late-night support, the encouragement in her studies, the collaborative building of their family support center, and the nurturing of Ethan's growth. She realized that while the initial breach of trust had shaken her, it did not erase the genuine bond that had developed between them. With a deep exhale, she spoke words that had been difficult to say. She forgave Lucas, but with clear conditions that would protect their future. She required complete trust, equality in all decisions, and transparency in every step forward. Lucas agreed wholeheartedly, pledging to honor her terms. Without hesitation or complaint, this reconciliation became a turning point in their relationship. The pain of the past was acknowledged, the mistakes confronted, and the path forward defined by honesty, love, and mutual respect. Together, they resumed planning their wedding, now with a renewed sense of commitment that went beyond ceremony or tradition. Their love had been tested, and in the process, it had grown stronger, tempered by understanding, dialogue, and forgiveness. Amelia and Lucas emerged from the crisis not only ready to unite in marriage, but also prepared to build a future where communication, equality, and trust would form the unshakable foundation of their shared life. The afternoon sun bathed the Rodriguez estate in a warm, golden light, as Elena and Victor Rodriguez waited nervously in the grand sitting room. They had heard much about the woman who had become the center of their son, Lucas's world, Amelia Rivers, and about the way she had seamlessly integrated herself into the life of their beloved grandson, Ethan. For weeks, they had watched Lucas's excitement and affection whenever he spoke of her, and they knew that this meeting was more than a simple introduction. It was the merging of hearts and the expansion of family. Amelia, holding Ethan's hand gently, stepped into the elegant room, with a mixture of anticipation and modest nervousness. She knew this meeting could shape the trajectory of their family dynamics, yet she felt a quiet confidence, strengthened by the bond she had built with Lucas and Ethan. From the very first moment, the atmosphere shifted. Elena's eyes lit up with warmth, and Victor's normally reserved demeanor softened as he observed Amelia's genuine interactions with Ethan. The boy, shy at first, immediately gravitated to her, offering his small hand and a tentative smile. Amelia knelt to greet him at eye level, laughing softly as he tugged at her sleeve, and the gesture melted the lingering tension. Lucas, standing slightly behind them, felt a surge of relief and joy as he witnessed the natural chemistry between Amelia and his parents. Conversation flowed easily, with Amelia sharing stories of their shared days, her efforts in supporting Ethan's growth, and the projects she had undertaken, alongside Lucas, particularly the family support center they had dreamed of creating together. Victor leaned forward, clearly moved, as Amelia described her vision for helping families in need, connecting it to the way Lucas had nurtured her into becoming part of their lives. Elena, with tears brimming in her eyes, reached out to touch Amelia's hand, expressing gratitude not only for the love she had shown their son and grandson but also for the compassion, patience, and dedication that had already become integral to their family. Amelia felt a warmth spreading through her chest, a mix of relief, acceptance, and belonging. She had feared judgment or skepticism, but instead, she found hearts open and ready to embrace her as one of their own. As the afternoon progressed, the moment of symbolic acceptance arrived. Victor carefully lifted a delicate, handcrafted necklace from its velvet case and approached Amelia. It was the family tree pendant, a cherished heirloom passed down through generations of Rodriguez, women and men, representing unity, continuity, and the strength of familial bonds. He gently fastened it around her neck, explaining the meaning behind each intricate link and how it symbolized the expansion of their family to include those who truly loved and nurtured one another. Amelia's eyes glistened with tears as she realized the weight of the gesture. This was not just a token of affection, but a formal acknowledgement of her place in the Rodriguez lineage. The room seemed to radiate warmth and connection as Lucas joined them, wrapping his arms around Amelia in a heartfelt embrace. Ethan, excited and proud, mimicked the gesture, completing the circle of love and acceptance. In that moment, Amelia truly felt the full extent of belonging. Not only had she been embraced by Lucas and Ethan, but she had also been welcomed by the broader family, a recognition that transcended formalities and spoke directly to the heart. Laughter, conversation, and shared memories filled the room, marking the beginning of a new chapter in their lives. Amelia, now officially a Rodriguez, understood that family was not just defined by blood, but by the bonds of trust, love, and mutual respect. ATSDA. Lesson she carried with pride, gratitude, and the unwavering commitment to nurture the family that had so graciously embraced her. The Rodriguez family's journey had been anything but simple, yet standing together at the Gospel Community Hall, they felt a profound sense of triumph. Amelia, Lucas, and little Ethan stood hand in hand as the applause filled the room. The family they had painstakingly built was now recognized with a prestigious community award for their dedication to helping others. The hardships, misunderstandings, and moments of doubt that once threatened to tear them apart now felt like distant memories, replaced by laughter, gratitude, and a shared sense of purpose. As the ceremony ended, Amelia glanced at Lucas, and the unspoken bond between them spoke volumes. Through patience, honesty, and forgiveness, they had transformed challenges into stepping stones for deeper love. Preparations for their upcoming wedding brought excitement and unity, symbolizing not only a celebration of their love, but the merging of hearts, families, and dreams. The Rodriguez home radiated warmth, not from its walls or decorations, but from the trust, compassion, and resilience that now defined their family. They had learned firsthand that true family isn't just about bloodlines, it's about the love you nurture, the forgiveness you offer, and the challenges you overcome together. True family and lasting relationships are built not on perfection, but on love, understanding, and the courage to forgive. When we face life's trials together, we strengthen bonds that can weather any storm. Share your thoughts. Have you ever experienced a moment where love and forgiveness transformed your life? Comment below, and don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories about family, resilience, and the power of the human heart.